guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we will take a look at some new revenge content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, A Shitty Warehouse. So my life has been in the crapper for a while now, but a tiny bit of revenge can feel really good. It does not end what I'm going through and is only a small chapter, but still. So, with COVID crap going on, I was working some small jobs just to stay working. Namely, I was working at a Walmart and also at Lowe's. Well, as things eased up a bit, more job opportunities opened up and I interviewed for warehouse manager at a company I will call Neurotic Co. to protect the identity of those involved. I was immediately offered the job, though at a pay rate I thought was a joke for a manager. Still, it was much better than Walmart. They put me on an hourly rate of pay and gave me a 50-hour-a-week schedule to meet my minimum income expectations. The pay was insulting in some ways because of the range of things the owners wanted me to be able to do, including welding, plumbing, electrical, and carpentry, all on top of managing. The warehouse had gone through a short shutdown because of COVID and was ramping back up slowly. I managed a day crew of 2 that had been there forever, a night crew that at the moment had 1 person and 4 drivers that had been there a while. My hours aligned mostly with the night crew as they needed the most help and the daytime guys could handle it well enough. So I managed at this warehouse for 8 months. That was all I could take. In that time, the owner slowly eroded my power. I watched him tell countless lies, change his mind on things at random, and change our working hours at the drop of a hat. He was in a hole. Also, the whole place was covered in cameras, and he would come in to talk to us about very specific things he had watched us do on camera while he was sitting at home. It was disturbing. Turnover was huge, as the owner would simply upset people and they would leave. It made my job impossible. But the other managers would tell me, hang in there, he will be gone soon. Eventually, I had a crew that was loyal and worked for me. The only problem was if I was not in, they would call out to avoid working with the owner. Then finally it came. The owner was supposed to move to Florida to be near his grandson. His wife was making him. I think he wanted to stick around and just run the business into the ground. A couple days before he left, the owner took me aside and gave me a huge write-up for all sorts of dumb crap that was untrue, and then yelled at me for an hour saying things like, I bet you are sitting there thinking, how can this place make any money without me? Well, I was successful before you all by myself, and so forth. This, of course, was a lie. He had been given the company by his father, and it survived largely on loyalty from the customer base and a single product. They were the exclusive distributor for the region. As he left for Florida, he sent an email naming out the management team and excluding me. So, I told the other managers I felt like I was being treated like a supervisor rather than a manager, and I would therefore act as a supervisor rather than a manager. I started looking for a new job. I planned to give a normal 2 weeks notice and leave peacefully. Then one night, I had a funny feeling, and it made me take most of my personal stuff home for whatever reason. Had a lot of my own tools in my desk and such. The next morning, the stated management team took me into the office and fired me. The notice they gave me simply said, you are terminated for insubordination, and they refused to cite an incident. To this day, I am convinced that the owner watched me take my personal tools home on camera from Florida, and then called them and said fire him first thing. Then the revenge. On my drive home from being fired, my shift started 2 hours before my night workers. I called my workers one at a time and told them what happened. Said I had enjoyed working with them, and if they ever needed a reference, I would be happy to help. I had a fantastic crew at this point, all good people despite hating the owner. A few hours later, the calls started coming in. The entire crew had called out for the night. I had a good giggle about it. But 2 days later, I started to get more calls. To the man, the entire warehouse night crew had quit in loyalty to me. I was told they had been offered $4 per hour raises to stay and all refused them. After the warehouse workers quit, I got a call from my favorite driver. I had mixed feelings on my drivers as a whole. He told me that none of the drivers had certifications for driving the trucks we had, air brakes, and suggested I report it to the DOT. Let's just say that from what I heard, the owner had to come back from Florida at his wife's protest to take back over. The only people they could get for the night shift are a druggie, who they fired previously when he got naked in the warehouse while high on LSD, and a guy who they previously fired for making far too many mistakes. Deliveries were truncated for some time because they could only use the van instead of the 30-box trucks they have while the drivers got certified. Oh, and as I understand it, there was a hefty fine. Next one is titled, Didn't Like My Style. Me and my wife found this gorgeous house, not yet on the market. Realtor had told us we owned all this nice forested land surrounded. We were sold. Once we were dealing with the logistics of buying, found out we actually didn't own all this land and that someone would be building a huge house right next to us. For context, our driveway runs up the side of our house and the side is really like the front. We decide whatever can't be that bad. So guy takes 2 years to build the massive house that dwarfs ours and kills our view. But whatever, we play nice the whole time, letting him use our power and water. We have to get along after all. I bite my tongue over all the inconveniences and him screwing me over and living through construction. Kept things on really good terms. When we were talking, this guy would tell me stories of times he had to move because of fights with neighbors. Trying to look tough, I guess. I didn't think much of it. It all started one day in the winter. The way my driveway is and how close his house is. He told me I could blow the snow on the small section on his side in between. I was very mindful not to hit the house with the snow and everything. One day out of nowhere, he shows up at my door telling me to keep my snow on my own side. Okay, whatever. Fine. Be an a-hole. I'm not going to get into it with you. From there, it's him telling me he owns half my driveway, cause it's on his property, and he's going to rip it up and put up a fence and all this other crap. So I try and work with him. He ended up not doing anything but held it over our heads to get his way on everything. Makes me move my shed, and it's like a mini house. Makes me install 180 foot of French drain over a bit of water runoff from my driveway. Meanwhile, he's putting hundreds of gallons of water on my property from his 2 downspouts on my side and doesn't do anything. One day he decides to put up cameras and points them at our house. From multiple angles. This bothers us, but we don't show it. Until a couple months later, he's out there moving them and adjusting angles to get better views of our main hangout areas in my yard driveway where me and my friends and family hang out. So my wife asks him if he can just not point them directly at us. He brushes her off, so I go and have a work with him. This turned into a huge yelling match about all the crap. At this point, it is clear that we both hate each other. The only reason I can figure is that they are super religious. Like I have 8 kids and just super religious. I am covered in tattoos, piercings, ride motorcycles, and listen to all sorts of metal music. Though I'm no idiot, I am respectful and keep my noise to a minimum. So I'm assuming he just didn't like my style. Anyway, after the camera fight, I decided I would start blasting my music in my garage with my garage doors open day in and day out anytime I got the chance. And I played some of the most morbid death metal and other offensive crap to duck with him: Cannibal Corpse, Cattle Decapitation, Infant Annihilator, Acacia Strain, Lorna Shore, anything demonic or that had a lot of swearing. On top of that, I got a drone and started flying around his house. Started doing hooligan crap on my bike in the driveway. Just being noisy. After a couple months, near Christmas, we see a for sale sign go up. Couple more months down the road and it's my birthday. They are loading trucks and leaving. Best birthday present I could ask for. Though it pissed me off that he brought a Christmas gift basket and my wife accepted it, I took this as my pro-revenge win. The gift basket thing just shows how crazy he was. We would do crap like that. Gift baskets, waving at us, saying hi, then turn around and do something to start a problem. I'll never understand it, but I'm glad it's over. New neighbors are quite a never home, workaholics, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Life is good. Next one is titled, Be Nice to Your Camping Neighbors. Not me, but my parents. They love camping for long trips because it's cheap and easy. They were traveling in eastern Canada and were to depart early in the morning, so they got to sleep early. At around 10 p.m., 2 cars arrived to camp in the site next to them. Headlights directly on my parents' tent. Open the door, close the door, bang. Open the door, close the door, bang. I don't know if you camp a lot, but a car door closing next to a tent is loud when you try to sleep. They were also talking loudly and not caring at all about people sleeping around. So the next morning comes, my parents get up silently, closing the car door only once they are ready, being very considerate to other people. And at the very last, my mom writes on a big sticker, like 3 and X3 in, we left silently, a hole, and stuck it in the center of their windshield. And they drove away. Next one is titled, A Likely Story. This was years ago, so don't nail me on the exact details, but the key points are memorable. I used to travel a lot on business when I first started working in IT. I was returning from somewhere abroad, Kuwait I think, and was back in the UK on my way home on the train. I got onto the train and took my seat at a table with another man opposite, Mr. But That. He had really spread out and made an annoyed impression as I sat at his table, and he had to shuffle his stuff so I had space. I think he was also annoyed that someone so young and scruffy was in the first-class carriage. Nothing exciting or impressive in the UK, just less crowded. Anyway, the conductor came round and asked to look at tickets. I was doing the pocket shuffle trying to find mine. Old boarding card, passport, etc. No crap, etc. Meanwhile, Mr. But That made a big show of having his ticket and giving it to the conductor. He placed it demonstrably on the table afterwards, showing how awesome he was. I couldn't find my ticket and was just starting to apologize to the conductor. I'm really sorry, I have a ticket but can't seem to find it. Mr. But That chirped in half under his breath, a likely story. Just in this moment, I found my ticket, presented it, and we were done. But that looked like I had somehow faked a ticket. We carry on and arrive at our destination, Victoria, I am pretty sure. But that being a But That runs up and blocks my exit and is pushing off to the door. I notice he has left his tickets on the table still. Weird on right? Conductor has checked, and we are at the end of the journey. Not at Victoria we aren't, they have gates, I follow But That. Oh, today they are checking all tickets as well. But That is in trouble with the inspectors and trying to explain he left his ticket on the train. I slide past right next to him and say a likely story as I sail through the gates. Next one is titled, Hold the Elevator. This tale of petty revenge wasn't done on purpose. It was an accident. It still felt like revenge though, so I'm rolling with it. I used to work as a mail clerk in a medium-sized company of about 300 people. I delivered mail to people, dealt with supply orders, and generally pushed carts all over this office. Because of this, I had to use the freight elevator often. The freight elevator was off limits to all the other employees except myself and my boss. 99 out of 100 times, this elevator was empty, and I was really the only person who ever used it. I hated my boss. She was the kind of person who would butt into things and order people around just to make appearances that she was doing her job, but in reality she hardly did anything at all. I never got along with her. She had written me up for trivial crap numerous times. I sorta knew I was going to be fired before too long and really didn't give a crap about this job anymore. One morning I was nursing a pretty gnarly hangover from a pretty intense night of partying that ended at White Castle and eating half a crave case before conking out. No big deal, I could do my job half dead and on autopilot. This morning, I went to the basement to pick up a cart full of copy paper or something to deliver upstairs to accounting. I load up the cart and get on the elevator. Then a demon from the underworld erupted inside my belly. I wasn't going to be able to hold this one until I made it to the bathroom. I let loose a massive, utterly grotesque fart. You know the kind of fart where even you yourself can't stand it. This crap was putrid. I'm talking Pabst Blue Ribbon and fermented White Castle. The gas that I expelled was damn near a nerve agent at this point. No big deal though, right? Nobody uses this elevator except me and my boss. I figured I'd leave the toxic gas in the elevator and no one would notice. I get off at the first floor, push my cart out, and guess who's coming around the corner? Hey Corsair 130, hold the elevator, she says. Oh sure, no problem, I replied. I hold the door open for her, watch her get in the elevator, and can't hold back a thin smile spreading across my face. When the doors closed, I heard her start gagging. Next one is titled, Step had tricked me into eating something he knew I wouldn't like, so I waited a whole year to plan the perfect petty revenge. Obligatory, this happened a couple years ago. When I was about 19/20, I absolutely hated the taste of alcohol. Yes, I would still drink, but I'd pick the fruitiest, least alcohol-tasting drinks possible. Also, for context, it should be known that I love maraschino cherries. My stepdad knew all of this. Well, one day my stepdad goes, "Would you like some maraschino cherries?" Of course. So I pop this cherry in my mouth, and not even 1 second later I'm gagging and my tongue burns. He's laughing. Everyone is laughing. It was a moonshine-soaked cherry. Apparently those exist. So I took a long time to plot my revenge. A whole year, in fact. Even got his mother to get in on the revenge with me. I know he hates black olives. He'll gag. He also loves chocolate-covered nuts. You can see where this is going, right? A year after his moonshine cherry shenanigans, his mom and I made a whole bunch of chocolate-covered nuts. then a couple chocolate-covered black olives. Gave him all the chocolate-covered black olives. It was so glorious. He unsuspectingly popped a chocolate-covered black olive in his mouth, enjoyed it for maybe 1 second with a smile, until suddenly his face turned to disgust and confusion. We all started laughing. He spit it out and I revealed my deviancy, laughing at the revenge and him not even suspecting it because it had been so long. I filmed it, of course. That's probably one of my best petty revenges. Next one is titled, Disneyland with my girlfriend and now wife. My wife and I went to Disneyland on a road trip about 7 years ago now. We were waiting in line to go on a ride where you paddled around some kind of lake in a large canoe/boat. I'm pretty experienced with these, but my wife was not. Despite my best efforts in line, we got lumped with some mid-30s ladies who were absolutely hammered and were splashing around, rocking the boat and screeching at the top of their lungs. My wife and I just wanted a quasi-romantic boat ride. I was sitting at the back, so when I had enough, I skinned my paddle along the water and created a perfect splash, absolutely soaking just these ladies and no one else. I immediately said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I've never used a paddle before." The park employee at the front of the boat thought this was hilarious. They were a bit quieter for the rest of the ride. Last one is titled, Slowly Crushing the Dreams of My Friend's Ex Until My Friend Is Ready to Speak to the Police. My friend was sexually assaulted by their ex when they were together. Said ex has a YouTube channel, and his only dream is to be a famous YouTuber someday. Whenever he uploads, I immediately dislike his video on all 3 of my YouTube accounts. I've managed to persuade some of my other friends to do the same. He has made a video about how a mystery person or group of people disliking his videos straight away is starting to really bother him. He completely broke my friend, so this is my way of getting revenge for them until they feel ready to go to the police. I can't let him get away with hurting my friend like that, but they are too nice to get revenge themselves. Thanks for listening.